L is for the way.
At petfix-club, we want to make owning a pet the best it can possibly be for you and the one you love. Enjoy personalised online pet care at petfix-club.com. Start your free trial today. Love your pet? Join the club.
My name's Pete Wedderburn, also known as Pete the Vet. I'm a vet in practice, but I'm also a co-founder of an exciting new website, petfix-club, or petfix.com or petfixshop.ie. And what Petfix is all about is getting good quality information about pets to people. And our aim is to make sure that everybody, everywhere, all the time, has access to affordable, trustworthy information. That's what we're all about. And as part of our mission, we also have Petfix Shop, and that's at petfixshop.ie. And what we have there is a wide range of good value products, accessories, food, everything you need for your pet. And we offer it to everybody. Everybody can go to the shop to buy what they want. But if you're a member of Petfix, then you get special discounts on everything. And so we'd encourage you to do that. So one of our real focuses on at Petfix Club has been making sure that people have got good information about puppies and kittens, because new pet owners, I think, are the most vulnerable because they're new. They don't necessarily know very much about puppies and kittens, and so they're they can benefit particularly from getting good information. So what we've done up on Petfix Club is a series of how-to guides, if you like. So it's a new puppy guide, a new kitten guide, and if you read through that, you'll find everything you need to know about pups and kittens. All good basic information, doesn't mess around, it tells you what you need to know. And so you can find that by going to Petfix Club. Now, you can look at some articles for free. If you want to look at the full range, then you join us as a member. Now, it's free of charge for a month, so you can join up. It doesn't cost you anything at all for a whole month. You can try it if you like it. If you don't like it, then you can cancel it, fine. If you do like it, well, you stay on and pay €7 a month for ongoing membership. So anyway, so where do we start? I'm going to try to be succinct today. And what that means is I'm going to talk to you for about 10 minutes about puppies, about 10 minutes about kittens, and then I'm going to answer lots of the questions that you have about puppies and kittens. So where do we start? Well, we start with sourcing a puppy or a kitten. So where do you get one from? And that's, I think, probably the absolute biggest challenge right now for everybody, because there's been soaring demand, absolutely soaring demand on puppies and kittens since lockdown, and it means that it's more difficult than ever to get one. And what that means is that people get desperate. They're paying up to 4 times more than they were paying a year ago, paying €2,000 or more for a puppy, believe it or not. And it also means that people are getting less fussy about where they get a puppy or a kitten. And that's not good, because you then become vulnerable to puppy farmers who mass produce puppies with poor health, puppies with behavioural issues, puppies with a bad background, and you end up then, in your enthusiasm, you end up getting a bad deal. And what a bad deal means is a puppy or kitten that's going to run into trouble, and you're going to have to cope with that, and that is not at all pleasant. So the first thing to say is, if you are sourcing a puppy, be very careful. We recommend that people go to petbond.ie, where they check out the source of the puppy, be it a rescue centre, they check out the rescue centres, or be it a private breeder. So they make sure that as far as they can tell, this puppy is from a really sound background. That's a good place to start. I'd also recommend good quality dog rescues, and I mean, I'm talking about people like Modra, people like Dogs Trust, people with a long track record of helping people get the right sort of pups for themselves. I still recommend rescues as a really good starting point, actually, to get a new pet, because the best rescues, they're really, really good at being matchmakers. So what they do is they're matching puppies or dogs or kittens or cats to owners. And that's what's important when you're getting a new pet. One person's adorable pet will be another person's little monster, giving them nothing but a hard time. So, you have to get the right animal for the right person, and that's what it's all about. And whereas a private seller, they may have a litter of pups or kittens, and they want to get them moved on. Not everybody's. I mean, many breeders, I have to say, the best breeders will not do that at all. They'll take great precautions to make sure that it's a really, really good match. But in a private sale, you're a little bit more vulnerable to somebody wanting to shift the animal onto you. Whereas if you go to a really good, trustworthy breeder, or indeed a really good rescue, they'll make absolutely sure that there's a good match, so that everybody's happy at the end of the day. And that's really what you want to, what you're aiming for. Okay, so so you've got this puppy anyway, or this kitten. Well, what are the puppy essentials? What are the puppy essentials? Well, I've got a few of them right beside me here, and you get this stuff at petfix-club. You can buy it online these days. It's very easy. Go to petfixshop.ie. So the first thing I'm going to show you is look, a puppy crate. Now, a crate is a simple thing. It's a metal cage, really, and you know, people don't like that idea of putting an animal in a cage. What are you talking about? But actually, it works really, really well for puppies, because the cage actually becomes their little private bedroom. You put a little bed in there, you see. And you've got these nice kind of pastely soft beds. These are made from recycled materials as well. You put your little dog's bed in there, okay. You put in food, little bowl of food, little bowl of water. Put all those in the cage. And at the very beginning, you might even put puppy pads in there. So here's a puppy pad. Okay. In case you're all wondering, a puppy pad is very simply it's like an incontinence sheet in a care home or something. But essentially, what it is absorbent material on one side, and on the other side, it's got waterproof type material. And what it means is it acts as a place where if a puppy has an accident, if they piddle or poo, if it goes onto this surface, then it's absorbent, and it stays dry underneath. So now, what that means is that if puppies do have accidents, it's very easy for you then just to clean it up by simply folding this up and chucking it out. And the other thing is that if you have one of these in your living area, what you can do is you can train your puppy to go onto the puppy pad very much more easily than just I suppose taking them outside if it's raining or something like that. So in the early stages of training a puppy, I think puppy pads have a really good role. I don't think it's great to have them in the crate, because ideally you want your puppy to learn not to go to the toilet in the crate at all. But in the very early stages, really you want to give the puppy every chance to do things right, and that means you may use a puppy pad in the crate for a short while. And the idea is that when you're house training puppies, that's one of the biggest concerns people have when they have new puppies. How can I house train them? First thing is you don't panic, because most people get the pups when they're 8 or 10 weeks of age. They're not going to be house trained then, highly unlikely. But nearly every puppy is house trained by 16, 18 weeks. So, you know, it's going to happen. They're going to get house trained, but there is going to be a period at the start where it's going to be a bit tricky, and you just have to go with that and do your best. And what that means really, I think, is in the ideal world, you train them straight away to go outside, and some people can do that. Otherwise, you train them to go onto a puppy pad, and at least then they're going to do that more easily than just anywhere in the house, and that's going to help you a lot. So how do you train them? Very simply, I mean, everything at dog training comes down to this. You reward behaviour that you want to carry on or to increase, and you ignore behaviour that you want to decrease. Now, what that means is that you, anytime the puppy goes where you want it to go, be it outside, ideally, or on the puppy pad if you're compromising a bit. So what you do is, as soon as the puppy starts what you're meant to do is you're meant to wait until your puppy is likely to go to the loo. And what that means is usually after they've just woken up, or sometimes after they've had their meal, or sometimes if they're playing and suddenly they stop playing and they start to look a bit different. These are all the times when a puppy is likely to go to the toilet. So at those times, you literally don't take your eyes off the puppy, and you pick them up physically and take them where you want them to go, be it outside or be it on a puppy pad. And you stay with them in that area. Then when they go to the loo, you tell them what a great little dog they are, and you give them loads of praise, and you have some special treats handy in your pocket to give them as well. And what that means is they'll begin to associate going to the toilet, on the puppy pad or outside, and getting lots of praise and even a treat. And they will do that very quickly by themselves because they want to please and they like rewards. That's what they're going to do. So that's in a nutshell puppy training. I didn't mean to leap straight to that. I was just telling you about the stuff you get when you get a new puppy. So anyway, I've got a little checklist here about things that we're going to talk about while we're talking puppies in our 10 minutes, which is rushing by. Help. Yes, you've got your puppy. One of the things I say to people usually is very soon after you got the puppy, as soon as possible, really, what you should do is go to your vet for a thorough physical checkover. The reason for this is that, first of all, vets are a good place to talk to about general puppy health. You may have lots of questions. There may be particular issues with your puppy that you want to know the answer to, and a vet's a good starting place to talk about all that stuff. Also, the vet will thoroughly check over the puppy. There are some puppies, unfortunately, that come with issues such as heart murmurs or hernias or teeth in the wrong place and all that sort of stuff. And you wouldn't know that as a newcomer. But the vet will check over the puppy and will tell you if there's any issues like that. And in some extreme examples, unfortunately, they might even say to you, look, this puppy's got a really serious heart murmur. He's likely to have very serious health issues, and you should consider taking the puppy back to the breeder. That doesn't happen often. I probably see that about once every 2 years, but it does happen occasionally. So in those circumstances, what you want to be able to, you want to find out as soon as possible after the puppy's in your possession, because I can promise you, if you've had that puppy for more than 24 or 48 hours, the thought of taking it back to the breeder is not going to be one that you're going to contemplate. So that's why a very prompt check of your puppy by a vet is a really sensible thing to do, so that if the unfortunate circumstances mean that the puppy has to go back to the breeder, you can do that without breaking your own heart. Okay, anyway, the vet will also talk to you about vaccinations. All puppies need to be vaccinated. Generally, they need at least 2 vaccinations, usually given around 8 to 10 weeks and then around 12 weeks. The program does vary a bit, depending on particular puppy, the brand of vaccine used, a particular vet's protocol. Things do vary a little bit. The thing to do is to talk to your vet, and they'll show you that sometimes the puppy will come with a vaccine cert from before that the breeder may have got their vet to give a vaccine. So take that certificate along to your vet and talk to them, and they'll keep you right on that. Okay, and your puppy is not going to be fully protected until after the final vaccine, usually at 12 weeks. You can't take them out on full-scale walks until then. I heard actually an expression this week, dry walks and wet walks. Quite like that expression. So what that means, I think, is that even before a puppy's fully protected, you can go on dry walks. You can take your puppy in your arms, take them out and about so they experience all the different goings on of life, traffic, people, airplanes flying overhead, so they understand, they learn about the world. And possibly if you're somewhere where there's no other dogs frequenting the area at all, maybe a friend's back garden, something like that, then you can put them on the ground as well. You just need to be aware that until the puppy's fully vaccinated, if they sniff anywhere where another dog has made a deposit, urine or feces, if they sniff that area, then they could be vulnerable to one of the serious viral infections. So dry walks mean restricted walks in that way. Wet walks would mean walks where they can't do wet walks, which means full on going everywhere, meeting dogs, sniffing nose to nose, running around ditches, everything like that. They have to wait till they're fully protected. That is usually 1 week after the last vaccine, which is usually around 12 weeks of age. Okay. So that's the visit to the vet. First visit to the vet. The vet will also talk to you about flea and worm treatment. A bit like vaccinations, there are variations in what you need. It depends on the puppy or the puppy's, what their lifestyle is going to be. Depends what they've had before from the breeder. And that sort of question, actually, I'd be very happy to help you answer. On PetFix, at Petfix Club, we've got a thing called a personalised pet planner, where you answer lots of questions about your pet, and after the end of it, then you get instructions on what sort of stuff you need to do, and that includes Parasite Control. Or anytime you can send me a question. There's a system called the Ask a Vet. The Ask a Vet tool. You click on a button to ask the vet, and you can send me a message with a question, and I'd be happy to answer you. So Parasite Control, Fleas and Worms, it's important to get it right, and it is different for every puppy to some extent. Okay. So the other thing that the vet will probably talk to you about is pet insurance, and I think that's a really good topic to discuss. Pet insurance is a great idea. You agree to pay a certain amount, be it €20, €25, it depends, per month, and that price varies depending on what sort of dog you have, depending on what sort of area you live in. And once you pay your pet insurance every month, then the pet insurance company covers you for the veterinary fees if your pet has an accident, number one, but also very importantly, if your pet develops a chronic illness. And actually chronic illnesses result in higher claims generally than one-off accidents. I'm talking about things like skin disease, heart disease, arthritis, all of these conditions. Because those animals have to go back to the vet time and time again, and because they need the latest medication often, which is exceedingly expensive, or can be at least, you know, it's really, really helpful for you if they're insured, and then you don't have to compromise. As an example, I saw a dog today that has itchy skin. Now, the traditional treatment for that partly is a product called prednisolone, and a month's supply of that costs about, for that particular dog, about €6. Okay, if they wanted the latest, more innovative anti-inflammatory medication, which arguably is better, it may have less side effects and it's more appropriate for some cases, well, that's going to cost them about €50 a month. So, you know, if your pet's insured, it's more likely you're going to be able to afford, if you like, the Rolls-Royce option than the more basic option, which may be okay, which may have more side effects. So pet insurance gives you a great deal of freedom to do the very best for your pet, and that's really why it's so important. Now, the next thing to mention is pet nutrition, puppy nutrition. So the best breeders and sources of pups will actually give you a supply of the food the puppy is already on. And that's a really good idea to stay on that. So you'll get a small bag with the food, some of the food the puppy's used to eating. And the best thing is to keep them on that food for the first few days, because that's what they're used to. And so it's a stressful enough time for a puppy going to a new house anyway. You know, they're saying goodbye to their litter mates, they're bye to their mum, and they're in this house with new strange people. The last thing they need is a whole new nutrition, a whole new diet as well. So the best thing is to keep it simple and keep them on the same diet for the first few days. That avoids gastric upsets. And then what you should do is choose the food that you want to feed them on for the longer term. And when you choose that food, you then can mix it gradually with the old food over 3 or 4 days, and that way you'll get the system will get gradually used to it, and you'll avoid a serious gastric upset. And you know, diarrhea is really common in puppies, partly because people do change the diet too quickly. How do you choose the best food? Well, basically what I recommend is a high quality kibble that's got ingredients that you can read on the label, that you can understand. It's a bit like human food. You want to know what's in them. You want to, rather than just broad topics, you want to have something that's, you know, like sometimes you'll just say meat and animal derivatives. Well, I would be much happier if, like with pet fix food, it actually says chicken 38%, and that's it. Or and then chicken fat, and then rice and maize and oats. So like really specific ingredients that you can understand. So the Petfix Club puppy food has been designed basically based on what I think is the best sort of food for puppies, and that's what I'd recommend. But there's lots and lots of ways of feeding dogs, just like there's lots and lots of ways of us eating foods. You know, there's no one diet that's absolutely perfect for absolutely everybody. And I'd say to everybody, whatever you feed your puppy on, what's important is that first of all you choose it wisely, using the broad principles that I've said. And if you want to know more, go to the Petfix Club website, and I've written articles and done videos about how to choose pet food. So choose the food that you want to use, and what's really important is how your dog does on it. So, you know, feed them it for 4 to 6 weeks and see how they're doing. And if it's the right diet, they'll be absolutely thriving, and you'll say, great, it's the one for me. If their coat's a bit starey, if their digestive system isn't quite working as you'd like it to, you know, with solid poos and no episodes of vomiting, if it's all going well, then stick with it, and that's the best thing to do. So next thing is you were flying. It's taking much too much time. I meant to be much quicker than this. I can't talk any faster. I'm doing my best. Anyway, you got your new puppy, and I tell you, it's a big shock for lots of people because suddenly you have got this living creature that absolutely depends on you. And in your mind, it was a little kind of static object that just sat there and looked at you with its big eyes, and you cuddled it, and it was all lovey-dovey. Actual fact, this little thing is yip, 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 yip. It's barking a lot, it's at you, it's biting your feet, it's piddling in the corner, it's pooing in the other corner, and it refuses to eat the food, and suddenly your life is really, really complicated. So I think the best thing is, learn about what's likely to happen first. Talk to us at PetFix if you've got questions, and expect the first few days to be a bit challenging, but it nearly always does settle down very quickly, and you do get to the stage where, if not all the time, for a lot of the time, you and your pup have a very pleasant, calm, chilling out experience together, and that's really what you're hoping for. And what do you do about pups sleeping? Well, I encourage people to use a crate for a pup to sleep in. I think a crate works really well. A crate with a little bed in it, as I said to you. But you have to be, again, I go to Petfix Club and read the articles about crate training dogs. You can't just jam a puppy into it and leave them there if they've never been there before. They'll just get upset, understandably. You have to be careful how you do it. So do it properly and carefully. It's also really, really important to start training from a very early age and to get your puppy really well socialized. These are big topics. I could talk for half an hour about each of these topics. Again, I'd say go to our website and watch the videos and read about it. It's important to educate yourself. This little puppy is going to depend on you for a long time, and you have to get it right. I was going to talk a lot about kittens as well, but we're kind of running short on time. So I'm more or less the same sort of principles. Get your kitten from a source that you can trust. Learn all about looking after kittens. Learn all about what you have to do. Don't just assume that you know it. Read up about it. Go to a trusted source of information like PetFix so that you're well briefed. After the first few days, it does get easier, but those first days can be a bit tricky. Anyway, listen, I'm actually going to go straight to answering some questions now, because there's a fair number right here. Okay, so here's somebody. Josephine is saying, I've arranged to buy a golden retriever from a private reputable breeder. The breeder has contacted me saying that the mum has mastitis. What consequences might this have for the pups? Well, mastitis means inflammation of the mammary glands. What that means is, I think most of us think about cows with mastitis, actually. Maybe that's just me being a vet. I don't know. Anyway, inflammation of the mammary glands. What that means is that the mother's milk supply has probably been damaged. What that means is the pups may have had to be weaned early. And that means they'll have got to used to eating food on their own earlier rather than later. And that's fine. I wouldn't think there'd be any adverse consequences from that. And especially if she's a reputable, experienced breeder, she'll be well used to dealing with this. Yes, so I think that all that means, Josephine, is that the pups will be weaned a little bit sooner rather than later, and I wouldn't think there'd be any problems with that. Okay, so I'm just going to see what other questions we have here. Here we go. How do you stop a 9-week-old puppy from eating their own poo, or will they grow out of it? Right, I'm asked this question a lot, and do you know what I think the most common reason for puppies eating their own poo is very simple. It's just that they're not being offered enough food. People often look at what it says on the bag, they see how much food they're meant to feed the puppy, and they stick to that regardless of how the puppy's behaving. Now, guidelines are guidelines. They have to be interpreted. So if you're feeding a puppy, rather than sticking rigorously to what it says in the bag, what you should do is you should feed the puppy as much food as it wants. Now that sounds extreme, and I would say that with a slight reservation, because I once said that to somebody, and they literally poured out a whole bag of food and set their dog onto it. And the puppy had always been restricted in its food, and suddenly it had a mountain of food, and it thought it would never see the like again, so it dived into it, it ate the whole lot, and got a really upset stomach, and that was just... not a good outcome. All right. So what you need to do is, within reason, give them as much food as they want. What that means, as far as I'm concerned, is what you do is you put some food in the bowl, all right, and if your puppy wolfs down the food, and so like in 2 minutes it's all gone, then your puppy is chasing the empty bowl for 5 minutes, then you're not feeding your puppy enough. You should give them, what you should do is give them food so that when they finish the food, they walk away looking happy. They might even leave 1 or 2 biscuits behind them. The idea is they feel full at the end of it. And I think often puppies don't feel full, they're still hungry, and then they'll eat anything they can just because they're hungry, and that includes poo. So the very first thing to do is to make sure you're feeding puppy enough. And that usually means 4 meals a day till about 12 weeks of age, going down to 3 meals a day till around 4 months of age, and then twice a day from then on, something like that. But it's about observing your puppy and making sure that they're happy and getting enough food. Okay, and the other thing is, make sure if your puppy is eating its own poo, I would teach them the leave it command. And again, go to PetFix Club and you'll learn how to teach the leave it command. It's a very, very helpful command. And what it means is you then supervise your puppy when it's out at the time when it will be going to the poo. And if it does go to eat its poo, then you say leave it, and the puppy will then leave the poo and come and take a treat from you instead. So the leave it command is a really important way of dealing with that. Okay. Now the next question. What do I do if my dog is constipated and hates drinking water? Okay, well, I guess that's quite specific. First, let's deal with hating drinking water. Dogs will drink water if they get thirsty. All you need to do is make sure you offer them fresh water all the time, and they will drink if they get thirsty. I often hear people worrying about pups not drinking enough or dogs not drinking enough. Don't worry about it. They will drink if they get thirsty. If they get dehydrated, they will drink. Now, the only exception to that would be a dog that's vomiting or diarrhea or has an illness, in which case then they can get dehydrated, and that's serious. But typical healthy dog will always drink when they want to, when they need to. So don't worry about it, okay? As long as you provide it, that's fine. If your dog is constipated, that's a different story. You need to find out, well, why is your dog constipated? Most dogs aren't constipated. The first thing you'd look at is the diet. Make sure they're getting a good quality diet. You might consider adding some fibre to their diet to make it a little bit bulkier and softer. And there's different ways that you can do that. You can just use household brand, like these for baking. Just put a teaspoonful or a couple of teaspoonfuls onto their food twice a day. That will certainly help. But really, if your pet is seriously constipated, then it's a job for the vet, because it can be quite complex and can be quite serious interventions. Okay, somebody's got a Cavalier King Charles puppy. What food, quantity and frequency of meals would I recommend? Well, I would recommend a good quality puppy food, okay? And what I would say, of course, I would say that the PetFix Club puppy food, the small and medium breeds, 2 to 15 months with chicken and rice. That's what I'd recommend for a Cavalier puppy. How much to give? As I said, as much as they want within reason. And there's a guide on the back here. So you look at the expected weight of the adult dog. So a Cavalier puppy is going to probably weigh 5 to 10 kilograms. And so for 2 to 6 months of age, you get between 160 and 200 grams a day. That's just a broad guideline, but you have to interpret that yourself according to how the pup's reacting, as I said to you. And as I've said to you, how often? 4 times a day from sort of 6 to 12 weeks, 3 times a day, 12 weeks to 16 to 18 weeks, and then twice a day, roughly speaking. Okay. Now, do dogs get over separation anxiety? What's the best solution? Well, not all dogs do. I actually had once a dog which I actually had to rehome eventually because she had such serious separation anxiety. It was, for her, she'd had a very bad start in life. She was a rescue dog, and she was the most lovely dog. She was called Bess. But what happened with Bess was, if she was left alone for even 10 minutes, she wouldn't just get a bit anxious, she would actually go berserk. She'd howl, climb the walls, chew everything in sight, break down doors, and she had really serious separation anxiety. We treated her with medication and with behavioural intervention, and we did help her and get her to a stage where she was, you know, at least reasonably okay about being left alone. But in the end, we ended up, I suppose, giving in, you might say, and she went to a new home where the person was able to be with her all the time, one-to-one all the time, and that suited her really, really well, and suited the new owner really, really well. But so separation anxiety at its worst is very, very hard to cure completely. The best solution to me is to engage at a very early stage with a really good behaviourist, with someone like Susie Walsh from dogbehaviour.ie, or there's a whole network of really good behaviourists around the country. Talk to somebody who's used to dealing with, who knows what they're doing, and they'll give you the right advice from the start. At Petfix Club, we do have some good articles and videos about doing this as well, about what to do, but you really can't be one-to-one advice if your dog has an established problem. And if your dog doesn't have problem with separation anxiety, make sure they don't develop it, but getting them used to an early stage to being left on their own for short periods, so that they don't panic when they are on their own. It's all about gradually getting them used to being on the, you know, to being solitary animals from time to time. That's part of life. Okay. A similar, a related one. How do I get my new dog to stop howling when we're apart? In separate rooms. Okay. Basically, you it's difficult when you get to the stage when they're howling when they're apart. You have to. I suppose what you want to do is you want to get them used to a little bit of distance, and you being away for a little bit of time before they start to howl. So, for example, what you might do is you might give them. It's helpful to give them something to do, like a food-enriched toy, like a Kong stuffed with food, or a canine connectable toy with treats in it. And you get the dog worn out, take them for a long walk, let them have some food so they're feeling reasonably comfortable, then give them a toy to chew. And then you disappear next door for 2 minutes, and you come back again. You do that for 2 or 3 times a day, and then the next day go for a little bit longer, and you gradually get them used to longer periods of being apart from you. There's some simple tips as well, that what you're not meant to do is you're not meant to wind the dog up before you go. You're not meant to say, okay, I'm going to go in a minute, I'll be gone in a minute, will you look after the house when I'm gone? Will you? You're a good dog. If you do that, you just wind them up, and they get more anxious when you're gone. It's like you're saying, you're going to be on your own soon, you're going to be all on your own, I'm not going to be here, you're going to be by yourself. So you're really getting them hyped. And the other thing is, when you come back, and this is really difficult, you're not meant to give them immediate attention. Now, it's natural that we want to do that. You come back, your dog's excited to see you, and you say, great to see you as well, and it's all fun. But actually, that just gets them wound up as well. What you're meant to do is ignore them for 5 to 10 minutes until they've calmed down and gone all quiet and relaxed. And then you can give them loads of praise. So that ignoring for the first period is a really good way of stopping dogs from getting hyped. But again, listen, I'd say to you, if your dog is howling when you're apart, you really want to engage with a behaviourist, have a Zoom conversation with them, because one-to-one information helps a lot for these sort of situations. How to stop a kitten scaling curtains and other risky heights? Well, that's where I think providing safe things for them to climb helps. So go to petfix-club.ie and you'll find there's cat trees, scratching posts, those kind of things. Cats are going to climb. Cats love climbing. If they go outside, they climb trees. It's part of cat nature is to climb. So we have to give them opportunities to climb in safe ways. If the only thing they've got to climb is curtains, well, they're going to do it. So you have to give them alternatives to curtains. And that's the answer, really, I guess. Okay. My puppy bites every single evening for a couple of hours. It bites. Okay, well, it's about training the puppy not to bite. And like I said, behaviour that's rewarded tends to increase. Behaviour that's ignored tends to decrease. It's very, very easy to accidentally reward a puppy for biting. So a puppy bites your ankles and you go, ow, 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 ow. As far as your puppy's concerned, you're playing a game with the puppy and it loves it. So instead of that, if you be like a tree, just stand totally stationary, stare straight ahead, ignoring the puppy, difficult as it is, the puppy will then go, well, this is no fun at all, and they'll go away. But again, a bit like kittens and cats climbing trees, puppies will bite. They like biting things, so you have to provide them something to bite. So that means buying chews for them to chew. At petfix-club.ie, we've got loads of chews to chew. get some good chews for your puppy to chew, and engage them with chewing chews rather than chewing people, and that's the way forward. Okay. How to stop puppy chewing at furniture and clothes, rips in the couch and trousers. Again, normal for puppies to chew. Make sure you've got good stuff for them to chew. There's all sorts of products available, and you want to offer different textures, different tastes, different sizes, so they've got a range of things they can chew. Encourage them and reward them and praise them when they're chewing good things, and just if they chew bad things, remove them from the bad things, redirect them to the good things. That's the kind of thing you want to do. All right. How do you start getting a pad-trained pup to continuously go outside? Won't do poo without a pad. Yeah, and that is why some people prefer to train a puppy straight to go outside rather than using a puppy pad as an interim, because you have this problem, this pad-trained puppy. It's a little bit of an issue. So ideally, in the summertime at least, it makes more sense to train to go straight outside. In the wintertime, you're kind of stuck with having to put them onto pads, and I think pads have a place as well, just for general home management. How do you train to do that? Well, I guess what you do is you take a pad outside, and what I would probably do is cut the pad smaller and smaller. Okay, so you've got the big pad, you might just cut it in half, cut it in a quarter, and then cut it in an eighth, and then so you have the puppy going on a little bit of a pad, and then gradually train them onto going on a little bit of pad outside, and then hopefully they'll learn that just being outside is enough, and then that's it really. So that's the kind of thing I do, I guess. All right, sorry, we're going on longer than I'd expected. How much of an Extel Plus worm dose do you give an under 3 kilogram puppy, 5-month-old puppy? Well, the dose of Extel Plus, if you check the label, I think it's 1 tablet per 10 kilograms, so that'd be a quarter of a tablet would be the right dose. But I would always weigh an animal that's being given any sort of medication, be it parasite dose or whatever, weigh the animal and read the label and make sure you're giving the appropriate amount. It's always important to do that. Okay. Okay, here's one. What food do you recommend? Seeing a lot of debate about raw or kibble. Is tails.com good? So this is a really heated kind of debate, raw food or kibble. I think the best I can say to you is go to Petfix Club and read the articles I've written about these topics. For me, kibble is far and away best. Good quality kibble, like the Petfix Club one, which I've chosen to put my name on because I'm happy with it. Basically, that means it's kibble with good quality ingredients that are predictable from batch to batch. And I know that my dogs thrive on it. So, for me, that says it all. Some people prefer to feed their pets on raw food. That's their choice. I believe that the logic behind feeding raw food is misplaced. I believe that you could say, well, it's natural for dogs to eat raw food. Well, look, dogs have been domesticated for tens of thousands of years. And while they've been domesticated, while they've been associated with humans, they've been eating scraps from our table, which is very, very often cooked food. We know that over 5,000 years ago, dogs adapted. They developed the enzymes to digest starch, so they're well able to eat cereals. So I don't see the rationale for feeding raw food. That said, some dogs absolutely thrive on raw food, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'd also say that there is a risk, there's a known risk with raw food of bacteria. Raw meat, the reason we cook meat, part of the reason is because it kills bacteria in the meat. Dogs have got more acidic stomachs than ours, so they can cope better with bacteria from raw meat than we can. But we're human, and if we're handling raw food to give to our dog, then we get bacteria in our hands. If we and we also know from studies that dogs that are fed on raw meat have those bacteria around their muzzles, and if they nose us, then we risk getting it. So, look, if you have immunocompromised people in your house, young children, elderly people, people on chemotherapy, that kind of thing, you would want to be very, very cautious about introducing raw food as a way of feeding your pet. But many people use it and have no problem at all with it. So it's a choice that you make. You just need to inform yourself about it before making that call. Okay? And listen, You asked, is tails.com good? There's lots of good ways of feeding dogs. There's lots of different types of kibble. My own choice is the petfix-club food because I've checked it out and I'm really happy with it. But that's not saying there aren't lots of other good brands out there too. You know the way. Okay. My Bichon Terrier mix is 5 months. Can I get a spade this early? Well, yes, you can, probably. I would say small breeds like that, doing them at 5 to 6 months is absolutely fine. I'd always say to you, talk to your vet, because different vets have different policies on when to spay and neuter pets. And so it's worth having a conversation with them, because if they're going to do the operation, they're going to want to do it according to their own protocol. And so that's why discussion is important. But I'd say yes to that. Okay. How often should you worm, flea, or puppy? Again, that's always individualized. And petfix-club personalized pet planner is a way you can find out about what suits your particular animal. On average, you should worm a puppy every 2 weeks till they're 12 weeks of age, then once a month, either till they're 6 months or lifelong, depending on particular situation. So every 2 weeks till they're 3 months, and once a month till 6 months. So as far as puppies are concerned, that's good enough advice. I think that covers that particular base. Worming adult pups, adult dogs, maybe that's another question we'll come back to. As far as fleas are concerned, again, I would say if you want to prevent fleas, then using a product once every 1 to 2 months, depending on a particular product. If you go to petfixshop.ie, you'll see the products that we stock. If you use that spot on every 2 months, that will give you continuous protection against fleas. Okay. And are enrichment toys suitable for puppies, or should you wait to introduce them? Yes, they're very suitable for puppies. I'd say at an early stage, introduce enrichment toys, things like Kongs, Care and Connect tools from an early stage. It gets the pups motivated by the food to engage with the toys, and they love being engaged with the toys. So what can go wrong? It's perfect. I said what can go wrong. Well, what can go wrong with any chew toys? A puppy can destroy it by chewing it too much, and it falls apart, and they swallow bits of it. So that's what can go wrong. It very rarely goes wrong, but it is true. You should really monitor animals when they have chew toys to make sure they don't do that. Okay, that's kind of common sense, isn't it? It's like the small print. Okay. So listen, we've got through nearly all the questions. There's some others there which are kind of same sort of things again. And we've been going for 48 minutes now, which is really rather a long time. So I'm going to just call it a day at that. I'm going to say to you again, everybody, do go to petfixshop.ie. You will find special discounts on all puppy and kitten stuff in the range that we're featuring. And so you get really good value this month in particular. And if you have more questions about your puppies and kittens, then do get on to me at any time using the Ask a Vet tool on petfix-club.com, and I'll be really happy to get back to you very promptly and keep you informed. I'm all about information, good information. That's what this is all about. That's what this website, Petfix and Petfix Club and Petfix Shop, they're all about making sure people are well informed. You know, if you're a well-informed owner, then your pet is going to get the best they can have in life, and that's what it's all about. All right, guys, I'm going to say goodbye now. Thank you for watching. Thank you for engaging. And we'll talk again next week, same time.
L is for the way.
At Petfix Club, we want to make owning a pet the best it can possibly be for you and the one you love. Enjoy personalised online pet care at petfix-club.com. Start your free trial today. Love your pet? Join the club.